Let me invite the principal of Dayapuram Residential School, Mrs. Jyoti P., for an official welcome.
Good afternoon all. Respected Chief Guest of the day, Sri Anil Swarup Sir IAS, Dayapuram Patron CT Sir, Deputy Director, teachers, parents and my dear students. Today we all are very happy to be here because we have a very eminent personality with us. Sri Anil Swarup Sir IAS, a senior IAS officer who was a former Secretary of School Education, Secretary of Coal, Government of India, the former Director of General of Ministry of Labour and Employment, Government of India. Sir is with us today. I am very happy to welcome Anil Swarup Sir to Dayapuram campus. On behalf of Dayapuram fraternity, let me extend a very warm welcome to Anil Swarup Sir. Next, let me welcome our dear patron CT Sir to this program. Finally, a warm welcome to all the dear parents, students and teachers and all the well-wishers to this good afternoon. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Our school always believes that the children are the future and they will help in making our country great and encourage that idea. Successful people are not gifted. They just work hard, then succeed on purpose. So, to achieve success, we must be dedicated because nothing is going to happen overnight. Today, we have invited a special guest who was a former Secretary of School Education and Coal India. Another feather on his cap is that he had owned the position as Director General in the Ministry of Labour and Employment. We feel honoured to have with us Mr. Anil Swarup IAS as an honourable guest speaker. I am really honoured and privileged to wholeheartedly welcome Anil Sir to Dayapuram, who has tackled a myriad of challenges in his career span of 40 years. Sir, we are all eagerly waiting to listen to your inspirational words, which will include some tips on how to become a successful IAS officer. Over to you, sir.
My young friends and not so young friends, I leave it to you to decide where you belong because it is a mental age that matters than the physical age. But what a pleasure it is to be here at the school here. I went around the campus early in the afternoon and I was so impressed. You know, I have had the occasion to visit a large number of schools as Secretary School Education, Government of India, but this is one of the finest, so compliments to you. What was even better was what I saw in the 3 films that were shown to me. You know, campus you can build through money, you can have trees and everything, but the children, I was pleasantly shocked to see the articulation of the child or the girl who was comparing the election video. I don't know whether she's around here. I would like to personally compliment her. How fluent she was. I mean, she would be an anchor in any leading TV channel. So again, my compliments to you for not only creating this wonderful, wonderful campus here, but getting children to do what they ought to do. And as she rightly put it, they are the future of this country. You are the future of this country. People ask me that after retirement, I am almost completing 5 years after retirement and I travel twice a week to some parts of the country. They ask me, why do you travel so much now? You should take it easy, remain at home, spend time with your family and all. But I thoroughly enjoy interacting with youngsters because they give me a lot of energy. So the films that I saw gave me a lot of hope, a lot of energy. And I do feel convinced that future is in bright hands. Now, the topic given to me today is building a future. I'm not going to define as to how do you define your future to be built, what should be your future, no. I leave it to you to decide. What I will share with you, that in order to build your future, what as youngsters can you do to get the best out of yourself? And as I explain that, I have a small comment to make to begin with. In the early part of my career, when I got into the Indian Administrative Service, I thought that I will change this world. You know, there's a lot of josh, there's a lot of excitement. that I would do everything to change the world. And very soon I discovered that I can't change the world. If at all I can change only myself. And that's what the old man, the great man, Mahatma Gandhi said. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Now what I will share with you today is, how can you be the change? And before I explained to you how, you must also understand why should you be the change. I explained one part of it by saying that though we may believe that we can change others, my experience tells me you can't do much to others. And in any case, you want to do something to others, first change yourself. Charity has to begin at home. You have to start moving. There is a lot of talk about nation, society. Everyone talks about big. That I will do for this country, I will live for this country, I will die for this country. I keep telling children, forget about the nation and society. If you become a citizen to be reckoned with, if you become an individual to be reckoned with, if you improve yourself, the nation will improve. Because nation is not made out of some, thin air. It is made out of people like you. So each one of you has to think in terms of how you can contribute to nation building rather than merely talking about nation. In northern part of this country, I call them, there is a lot of Josh, lot of hosh. No, but you have to be consciously working on yourself. Now, how do you work on yourself? How many of you have understand Hindi or Urdu? Can I see the hands, raise of hands? Not many. So I will refrain from using Urdu couplets. I had some couplets in my mind, but I will refrain because most of you may not understand the import of what I have to say. The first point that you have to keep in mind, if you want to evolve as an individual to be reckoned with, if you want to build your own future, is that past is dead and gone. There is no point in wasting your time brooding over what has already happened. Can anybody sitting in this room change his or her past? Can anybody? But you reflect and you will find that how much time do you waste on issues which are gone? You're still living in the past. The only relevance that past has for us is learning from our mistakes. We all commit mistakes. I have yet to come across anyone on this earth who hasn't committed a mistake. So if you have committed a mistake in the past, or someone else has committed a mistake in the past, learn from those mistakes and don't commit those mistakes again. That's the only relevance of past. These days a lot of time is being spent on rewriting the past. And I say that what purpose will it serve if you sit down and rewrite the past? It's dead and gone. It's over. My personal view is, you cannot change the past. I wish someone can. And you don't know about the future. You don't know how it's going to evolve. The only control that you have is on the moment now. This moment. And what you do now at this moment is going to determine your future. There is a Sanskrit couplet, Karmanye vadikaraste ma farlichu kadachana. It actually means that the only control that you have is over your own karma, what you're doing. And that karma, what you're doing now, is going to determine what are going to be the final outcomes. However, you and I have no control over results, because results are determined by many, many eventualities, many factors over which you have no control. So suppose you are preparing well for the exams, and just before the exams you fall sick. It's not of your fault, but you fall sick. So what do? Does that mean that you should not prepare for your exams? So my suggestion to all of you is, live in the moment, enjoy those moments. This is point number 2. If you're enjoying the moments that you're in, the chances are that you reach your destiny. You have control only over the journey that you are undertaking. You have no control whether you will reach the destination. However, if you are committed to the present, if you are enjoying the present, if you are doing diligently what you are doing, the chances are that you'll succeed. That's what evidence shows. That success is for those who can do things over which they have control, and not brooding over issues over which you have no control. You know, you must have heard the name of Ghalib. Have you heard the name of Ghalib? is a very well-renowned Urdu poet. He has said this couplet, Umr bhar yahi bhool karta raha ghalib, dhool chehre pe thi aina malta raha. You know, the short interpretation or translation is that the fault is with you, whereas you are blaming the mirror for the fault. And in any case, even if the mirror is at fault, you can't do much to it because it is at fault. So if your teacher is not teaching you well, you can keep cursing your teacher, but that won't help you. What will help you is how can you get the best out of the teacher who's given to you. You can't change the teacher. You can't change so many things, but you can change a lot in yourself. The next point that I would like to highlight before you is, which I mentioned in a passing reference earlier, was that all of us commit mistakes. As I said, I've yet to come across anybody who's either not failed or not committed a mistake. You know, you look at John F. Kennedy, you look at Mahatma Gandhi himself. His book, My Experiment with Truth, is filled with mistakes that he committed. Yet he became a great man. So it's not committing a mistake that makes you great. What makes you great is learning from those mistakes. As you learn from the past, you learn from your mistakes. Let me give you an example from my own life. When I was in class 12, I had science subjects, physics, chemistry and maths. I hardly had time to work on my language, on my communication skills. I had no time. I was spending most of my time in sine square theta plus cos square theta is equal to 1. Never found time to study language or improve upon my language. When I switched over to humanities in BA, after my inter science, I took BA. I don't know how many of you will switch over to humanities after having done science. I switched over. So I had to improve my language. So I had a communication plan where I started improving my language and I became a reasonably good speaker, started representing my university in national debates. In one of the national debating competition in the cultural festival at IIT Kanpur. Have you heard of IIT Kanpur? So IIT Kanpur is one of the premier engineering institutes in the country. During those times, it was probably the best. It's no more the best, but it was then absolutely outstanding. So it was a privilege to go to a cultural festival in IIT Kanpur, representing a university for a debating competition. One day before the debating competition, there was a music competition also. So I thought I am a good singer. So I participated in the singing competition without practice. So my name was announced, Anil Swarup. I went to a stage and then started singing. I picked up the wrong note. Within 15 seconds, I was booed out by 1,000 students of that university. Booed out. Has anybody had that experience? It's a shattering experience. It's a shattering experience. I didn't know what had hit me. And when I came out of the hall, I wanted to hide somewhere under the table or somewhere, go into a hiding. And I decided that I will not participate in the debate on the following day. So one of my seniors came to me. He asked me a very simple question. He said, can you change whatever has already happened? I said, how can I change it? I feel shame. So he said, you participated in an event without practicing. That was your mistake. And because of that mistake, you are committing another mistake of not participating in an event for which you are prepared. So it was a long conversation for about an hour, where he convinced me into believing that committing a mistake is not wrong, but committing the same mistake is doubly wrong. So you have committed a mistake in future, never participate in any event without preparing for it. Prepare and then participate. But why should you give up the event on the following day? So I finally decided that I will participate in the event on the following day. So again, on that day, my name was announced, Anil Swarup. So the moment my name was announced, everyone started shouting, Gayak aa gaya. You know, Gayak is a singer. They were taunting me that this singer has come again to give us a song, again some stupidity. But I had overcome my fears. I went and spoke and I got the first prize in the national debating competition. Friends, I have never looked back after that. I mean, I travel all over the world, all over the country to speak to different sets of audiences. I have no problem. Because I know that I can commit mistake. You know, this will give you enormous amount of confidence. I don't know how many of you have had this experience. I have had this experience a lot of times in the past, that I don't speak because I am afraid of committing a mistake. Many times you don't speak up or you don't do something because you're afraid of committing a mistake. Isn't it? It inhibits you from expressing yourself. But if you know that you are not the only person who's committing mistakes, if you know that you will not be the first person ever to commit a mistake, if you know that if you do commit a mistake, you can overcome and learn from that mistake, you will not mind doing what needs to be done, irrespective of the fact that sometimes you may be committing a mistake. And if you do commit a mistake, learn, accept that mistake and learn from those mistakes and move ahead. But not doing anything will not build your future. Your future will be built on your understanding that you can commit a mistake, and despite the possibility of committing a mistake, you will not prevent yourself from doing what you ought to do. It's a huge lesson. You must think over it, whether the apprehension of committing a mistake holds you back from doing what you ought to do. If you overcome that, you will get enormous confidence of being able to say what you want. I mean, when I heard that young girl in that video, it's so remarkable at that stage and at that age to have the fluency which she had was truly, truly remarkable. At least I didn't have that. I had it much later in life, but that was truly remarkable. The other point that I'd like to mention to you is, we waste a lot of time over issues over which we have absolutely no control. No? Don't you do that? How many of you are fond of cricket? None. I can't believe it. There's no one who's fond of cricket here in this hall? Only one chap. Oh, this is a football country, it seems. So you would be fond of football. Yes. I have seen people fighting over, if Ronaldo had not committed this mistake, Brazil would have won the match. I've seen them fighting over it. No, they have no control over Ronaldo, they have no control over the match, but they are fighting. Two friends are fighting over issues over which they have no control. I've seen people fighting over, America attacking Iraq, which was a wrong action. But by fighting here with my friend, does it solve the problem? We waste so much time over issues over which we have absolutely no control. I remember earlier, when I used to get stuck in a traffic jam, I used to curse everyone. What is this going on? Why is it? I used to tear my hair out. I don't have much left now. But I used to get very angry. What is this going on? So one day my wife was accompanying me and I again got stuck in a traffic jam. So again I got agitated. What is this going on? She asked me a very simple question. She asked me, can you do something about it? I said, what can I do about it? If you can't do anything about it, why is your blood boiling? Will it help? Friends, if you focus on issues over which you have no control, you will not have time to focus on issues over which you have control. Your time is limited, no? So it's a question of how do you waste your time. This brings me to the final point that I want to bring to you is time management. Many of us have serious trouble with managing of time. Because time, for 24 hours, everyone has 24 hours in a day, no? But some people are always relaxed and they are able to do things. Others are always rushing. Why? Because people who manage their time well are successful people. It's very important. And how do we manage time? We are unconsciously doing things which lead to waste of time. This is the biggest time waster, no? These days. Is it? Do you agree? Biggest time waster. And yet it is a very useful instrument. So I have my granddaughters who are now 9.5 years of age, and they will keep doing this. I go, what is it? Just this. It goes on and on. In my time, we used to flick television channels. So you don't have time. Now, how can your future be built if you're wasting your time? You want to relax, relax. Consciously relax. Don't waste your time. So for that, you'll have to see what exactly do you do at this point in time and how do you spend your time now. You will discover you're wasting a lot of time. You can't afford to do that. Because time once gone will not come back. So make use of it. Even if you got to relax, consciously relax. If you want to enjoy, go to a movie, go to a movie. Consciously. So you are consciously doing it. It is the subconscious waste of time that is troublesome. And we do a lot of it. Or a lot of us do it. So I tell young students, they tell me, sir, how do I manage my time? What do? I don't have time. So I ask them some questions. And pardon my, flippancy here. First question I ask is, what time do you wake up? So most of us wake up late. No, not you. Probably you have to come to school, so you get up early. So most of us get up late. And then the variation of time that you spend at toilet varies from 5 minutes to 1 hour. For the other chap, it's a 55 minutes waste of time, no? If something can be accomplished in 5 minutes, why should you be spending 1 hour in the toilet? So you're wasting that time. You can do other things. And then you get ready and you go to your school or college. I asked this question, how do you go to the school? He said, sir, I walk to the school. It's about 15 minutes from here. So I asked him, what do you do while walking to the school? You walk looking around, who's wearing what, and criticizing, oh, he's wearing a pant which doesn't match with his shirt and things like that. You can do that. Or when you're bicycling, what are you doing? Or you're going by bus, what are you doing sitting there? You're looking at the world around. It's nice to look at the world around once in a while, but if you do that as a routine, which means that you're wasting your time. So I learned it with a friend of mine who always carried a book with him. Always. As a student, I advise, carry a book with you. Whenever you're free and nobody's around, just start reading. Why waste time? Don't waste a moment. Because if you don't do that, then you have all the time in the world. You know, I had the privilege of being Secretary Government of India for 4 years. Not many civil servants have that. I was there for 4 years. And I was perhaps the only secretary leaving the office at 6 o'clock in the evening. Because I managed my time. I never believed in wasting my time. I get very uneasy if I'm wasting my time. So you have to develop that temperament. And for that, how do you change your habits? That's another very important thing. You know, you have a habit. Like when I was appearing for the civil service, I had taken law as a subject in which I had to study 700 case studies. I had to learn them. So I asked a friend of mine, how do I do that? He said, the best time to learn is early in the morning. No, you agree or not? You agree? Best time to learn anything is early in the morning because the mind is fresh. I was a late riser, so how do I change that habit? So if you want to change your habit, which many of you would want to change your habit for something good, you have to associate that change of habit with something which you like. Otherwise, you will not be able to do it. Under a danda, or if someone forces you to change your habit, very difficult. But if you start liking something and you associate with the change, then you will change. How did I do it? As I asked the question in the beginning, I'm obsessed with cricket. I enjoyed cricket. So in those days, when I was preparing for the civil service, Indian team was going to Australia. And those of you who are familiar with cricket will understand that cricket test match in Australia begins at 5:30 Indian Standard Time. So there were 5 test matches. Each test match was for 5 days. For 25 days, I woke up at 5:30 in the morning. Even now, I wake up at 5:30 in the morning. I got into the habit of waking up early. To youngsters like you, if you may allow me to say so, a girl can get a boyfriend who rings him at 5:30 in the morning. She will jolly well wake up. So is the case with a boy where the girlfriend wakes up at 5:30, gives him a call, and he will wake up. Associate something which you like, and then you'll change your habit. You know, as was rightly said, we are born with certain traits. You can't do much about it. You've inherited them. But if you look at the people who have been brilliant, who've done well in life, are people who made themselves, whether it was Barack Obama, so many, even Mahatma Gandhi. None of them were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. They were not Ambanis or who had their fathers in big business. No, the large number of people who are self-made, they are self-made because they disciplined themselves, they managed their time, they focused on the present, they decided for themselves that they will evolve in a manner to be a person to be reckoned with. So friends, you have a very bright future ahead of you. This country is one of the greatest, or is the greatest in the world. There are huge opportunities here, but opportunities themselves will not come to you unless you equip yourself to seize those opportunities. So you have to, the school or the college gives you an opportunity to hone your tools to exploit the opportunities that come to you. So do that, but do that with a smile. Enjoy life as you go along. Because if you treat studies or anything as a burden, life becomes very difficult. But if you enjoy what you're doing, life becomes easy. You will enjoy it, others will enjoy it, and I'm sure you'll succeed in life. Thank you very much for inviting me here. God bless all of you. God bless you.
Thank you, sir, for the enlightening and enriching words. As sir said, opportunities never knock at your door twice. Now, the stage is open to all to have an interactive session with Sir.
Sir, it is generally heard that IAS officers are under a lot of pressure from many sources, especially from politicians. Being a successful IAS officer who has been able to bring a lot of positive changes, what do you do to cope up with the stress?
You know, in the first 10 years of my career, I was under a lot of pressure. By which time I decided what I'll do and what I'll not do. And life became very easy. In the last 25 years of my career, I was under never a political pressure. Because they knew I will not do anything wrong. They knew it. So my formula was very simple. In the 38 years of my career, I never ever went to a politician for any favor. So if you don't expect anything from others, you are the king. But if you start expecting, then of course there will be pressure. If they didn't like me, they would shift me. But you have to be efficient. If you are able to deliver, then all governments want some delivery. So whether it was the Chief Minister of UP who made me secretary, or whether the opposition Chief Minister who then became Chief Minister made me also her special secretary, whether it was Dr. Manmohan Singh who picked me up for the cabinet secretariat, or whether Mr. Modi who made me co-secretary Government of India, their problem. I was available to them, but I was not available for doing anything wrong. All of them knew that. So once you are clear-headed, once you are clear in your mind that you are prepared to face the consequences of doing the right, then over a period of time you develop a reputation where people will not have the courage to come and ask anything wrong with you. No one can do. So you can do that.
Thank you so much, sir.
No question? It could come from the teachers as well. You can ask your questions if you have. Any teacher can ask me a question. Because it takes some time for children to unwind and open themselves up. There is always that apprehension. I may commit a mistake, I said. If I say something wrong, everyone will laugh at me. Let me tell you, children, if you allow people to laugh at you now, later on you will be laughing at them. So don't worry. Say what you have to say. Have the courage to speak up, right? No questions? Right then, thank you very much. Thank you.
Sir, can you share an unforgettable moment in your life as a civil servant officer?
Okay, I have had many unforgettable moments which are outlined in my 3 books. Not just a civil servant, ethical dilemmas of a civil servant, and no more a civil servant. But let me narrate one incident to all of you, which probably will inspire you to do what you think is right. I was doing a scheme called Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana, which was morphed into a health insurance scheme in Kerala also and did very well. This scheme came to be recognized world over as one of the finest insurance schemes. So when Barack Obama became the president of the US, I got a message from his advisor that they wanted me to come over to the US and explain that scheme to them. So I tried to wriggle out of that, but they pushed me. So during my next visit to Washington, I used to go there often. I went over to an institute called Brookings Institute, which houses advisors to the president. And there I made a presentation on RSVY. After the presentation, I was having a cup of coffee. So a gentleman from Gates Foundation, have you heard of this work? Gates Foundation? Gates Foundation is a foundation which gives money to poor countries for welfare work. So this gentleman from Gates Foundation walked up to me and asked me, Mr. Swarup, you are so passionate about the scheme. What is the government giving you about beyond your salary? I mean, everyone gets a salary, but you seem to be very passionate. You want to push the scheme, you want to talk about it. So I asked him a counter question. I asked him, Gates Foundation gives millions of dollars to poor countries. What do you get out of it? So he said, well, that's a job, but more than that, we derive a lot of satisfaction out of helping the poorest of the poor. So I told him, you've answered your own question. The Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana, the health insurance scheme, is meant for the poorest of the poor who do not have any health care, many of whom would have been dead but for the scheme. So the good wishes of their parents, of their relatives and themselves come back to me somehow, anyhow. That's good enough a kick for me to do what I am doing. So when you set up this school, what are you getting out of it? You're not getting money out of it, but you derive enormous sense of satisfaction of having created an infrastructure where so many children are benefiting. It can't be monetized. It is something to be experienced. And then I narrated an incident. In this scheme, we had these small hospitals empaneled. And I used to visit these hospitals. And while visiting one of the hospitals, I was talking to a patient, a beneficiary patient. Suddenly I heard a very feeble voice from behind, very, very feeble voice. And this was a conversation in Hindi, but I'll translate in English. She said, "Beta, come here. Son, come here." So I went there and she couldn't sit. She was so old, she was lying on the bed. She couldn't sit. She must have been around 90 years of age. So I bent down and asked her, "Mother, I hope you are fine." She tells me, "Beta, I'm in a lot of pain, but these hospital people are looking after me very well." So then I said, "Mother, you would then be okay and you'll go home." She said, No, I don't have any home. I am a beggar. And I fell in. So my neighbor, who was also a beggar, saw your card. This was a smart card based scheme. And he brought me to the hospital. All these hospital people are taking care of me. I don't have any money to pay them. How will I pay them? So I told her, "You don't have to pay anything. You'll be all right. You'll go home." No. I don't have no son, no brother, nobody. Now I'll go only to the Almighty. I'm too old to go anywhere. I'll go to the Almighty. This carried on for 15 seconds. And then she made a remarkable statement. She said, "When I meet the Almighty, I'll tell him, your scheme is very good." Now, the question here is, what do we do? What is the reason for doing what we are doing? I gave your example because you set up this school, and every day, every moment when you reflect on what you did, you'll feel good about it. That's what life is. No? Yeah.
Sir, actually, I am very fond of an IAS officer, Colonel Govt. You must have heard of him. And he actually stands for equality, justice, and all. But because of the corruption in his superior authorities, he is forced to resign from his job. So, what does it indicate?
You know, in life, and so in the IAS, we must clearly understand what we can and what we can't. There's an American monk by the name of Reinhold Niebuhr. He made a very seminal statement. He said, "Lord, grant me the serenity to accept things I cannot change, courage to change things that I can, and the wisdom to understand the difference between the two." So sometimes when we are in the IAS, we think that we've changed the world, which is wrong. We can do a lot many things, but we don't have the wherewithal to change the world. So getting into the IAS doesn't mean that you will make the entire society equal. You can't. So do what you can, and my experience tells me that can grows. But we don't focus on what we can, we are trying to do things which we can't, and hence we suffer. The frustration in some of the IAS officers is on the fact that instead of focusing on what they could have done, they are focusing on something revolutionary. So I keep telling my colleagues that if you want to be a revolutionary, you are on the wrong job. But you can do a lot of good to the poor people. You can do a lot of good work. It may not be to your own satisfaction in the sense of changing the world, which you can't, but you can still do a lot of good work. So for example, I asked some of my colleagues, it doesn't happen in Kerala, but in northern part of India it happens. I asked them, did any politician ever ask you to come late to the office? He said, never. I said, why do you come late to the office? Did any politician ask you to keep your office dirty? Many of us keep our office dirty. Did any politician ask you to sit on a file, not take a decision? You still don't take a decision. Did any politician ask you to not greet the person who coming to meet you and give him time to speak to him? But many of us don't meet them. We don't get out of our office. We don't welcome people. We do that. So there are lot many things that you can do. We don't do that, but we want to change the society. So that's the problem. I keep telling them, don't be a revolutionary. There are many things that you won't be able to do, but there's so many things that you can do. Focus on what you can, and probably that can will grow in the sense that you'll be able to do many more things beyond what you can.
Sir, can you share with us what actually made you go for IAS?
Okay, that's a long story, but I'll try and cut it short. I got into the IAS because my father wanted me to become an IAS officer. I was, I think, 10 or 11 years of age when I saw a piece of paper where my dad had actually worked out what I'm going to do in BA, MA, what papers I will take. Of course, I didn't follow exactly the same track, but it was his desire for me to become an IAS officer. I adopted his dream and made it into my dream. And after 38 years as a civil servant, I write in the last chapter of my first book that if I were to be born again, I'd like to be an IAS officer all over. I can't think of a service better than IAS anywhere in the world. because you can do so much, contrary to what she says, so much to change yourself and change the world around you that no other service offers you that. The scheme that I was mentioning, Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana, we impacted the lives of more than 35 crore people. Which service, which vocation, which industrialist does that? I had that opportunity. So you get huge opportunities in the service. That's why I want to be again an IAS officer if I were to be born again.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, can you please talk about Nexus for Good?
Oh, wonderful. I'm so glad you raised this word. I started a movement called Nexus of Good after retirement. How did this happen? Let me narrate a small incident to you. How did it happen? As Secretary School Education, I used to travel all around the country. And I was informed that there is a school in a place called Paste Pada, 150 kilometers of Thane district, north of Thane district in Maharashtra, which was in tribal area, did not have electricity. Now these days there aren't very many schools without electricity. So since I heard about it, I said I must visit this school. So I drove down to that place to see a school which does not have electricity. So when I reached the school, it was a 2-room school, a government primary school. And the teacher came to receive me. His name is Sandeep Gund. He took me to the first classroom and I was pleasantly shocked. What I saw was every child had a tablet, not this tablet, the other tablet, and there was a smart screen in the class. So I asked him, where do you get the electricity from? You don't have electricity here. So he took me around the 2 rooms and showed me a foldable solar panel through which he was charging the batteries, and through batteries he was charging the tablets. So I said, where did you get the money to buy these tablets? He said, sir, when I came to this school, I had a second-hand laptop. And there were about 40-50 children of all ages, shapes and sizes. Many of them didn't come to the school, so I didn't know what to do with them. So where I live, there was some internet available, so I used to download some educational videos and play it on my laptop, so all these children used to congregate around it. So after about 2 months, 20 parents came to the school asking me a very funny question. They asked him, earlier the children were not willing to go to the school, now they run to the school, what have you done? So he explained to the parents that this is what we've done. And when he found these parents actually engaged, he made a request. He asked these parents to contribute 500 rupees each so that he could buy 2 more tablets. Now these were poor parents, but they managed to give him 500 rupees each. So he bought 2 tablets, attached them to his laptop and made them into 3 groups. Now this passion of the teacher was traveling around. So a CSR funding agency and a non-governmental organization, an NGO, they visited the school. They were very impressed with this teacher. And so the CSR funding agencies funded these tablets and a smart screen. Around which time I visited the school. I was also very impressed. So I took a photograph with Sandeep Gund and tweeted it. I used Twitter handle, I used social media a lot. I tweeted it. Suddenly Sandeep Gund becomes a local hero, you know. Teachers from other schools started visiting school and started copying what we do. In between, I met the President of India, Mr. Govt. He had just taken over as President. So as Secretary Government of India, I had gone for a courtesy call, and while having a chat over a cup of tea, I narrated this story to him, Sandeep Gund's story. He was also very impressed. So I asked him, sir, would you like to meet him? He said, why not? So I got Sandeep Gund over to Delhi. He met the President of India, a photograph taken, I tweeted it, Sandeep Gund becomes a national hero. But that's not the end of the story. The Paste Pada model of digital schools has now been replicated in more than 50,000 schools of Maharashtra. This is an amazing story. Now that gave me an idea. That since we are fond of spices and masalas, this place more so. Aren't we fond of masalas? We like negative news. Who's hit whom, who's killed whom, whose wife has run away, whose man has run away, who's run away. Everyone is very excited about these negative news. But there's a lot of good work also happening in the society. But since we are fond of masala, we don't look at good work. So people start believing good can't happen. So the idea of Nexus of Good was that all the rascals and the ruffians of the world can come together and make life difficult for us. Why should good people come together and spread goodness? So the fundamental principle of Nexus Good is identify good work, understand good work, appreciate good work. It's very important. Appreciate good work. Then replicate good work and scale good work. Seek inspiration from the good work around you. What we are trying to demonstrate through Nexus of Good is that good can happen because good is happening. We are not taking note of it. So my friends, if you are connected to internet, just write Nexus of Good on Google. It will take you to a portal of Nexus of Good where you'll find hundreds of positive stories of good work happening around the country. And my suggestion to all of you is join the Nexus of Good, because it takes only 10 seconds for you to fill in your number, email ID, and you'll become a member of Nexus of Good. Spread goodness around. I mean, this school, this college is a representative of Nexus of Good. This wonderful thing has happened from nowhere. So, your people have demonstrated, illustrated that good work can be done. And this is a living example of that good work. So let good speak for itself. Let us speak about the good work so that naysayers or the doubters start believing that good can be done because it is being done. So, my friends, join the Nexus of Good and host positive stories as we achieve again. Thank you.
Sir, what was the most difficult thing that you've ever faced when you became an IAS?
What's the most difficult thing that I faced?
Yeah.
Most difficult thing was myself. Because I had to change myself to become an IAS officer, no? You know, I did everything in life. I was a good sportsman. As I said, I was a poor singer, but I sang. Now I compose music. I do everything. So if I have to focus on something, I'll have to cut off from those things. So the most difficult part was myself, to change myself. Once I changed myself, it didn't really matter. The world didn't matter to me. I could totally focus. Now I can focus on things. If I play the guitar and I compose music on that. When I sit on a guitar, I don't know what is happening to the world. I'm totally meditating with the guitar. So once you discipline yourself, that's the most difficult part. If you can discipline yourself, if you can enjoy what you're doing, then you're so focused that the world doesn't matter to you. But that is a difficult thing to do, to get that focus. So the biggest problem with me was myself, not anybody else. Once I got over myself, I think life has become very easy. Right?
So you are saying that you should change yourself?
Yes. I jokingly say become selfish. Because no one can tell a lie to himself. You look inwards and decide what you got to do. And be prepared for the consequences. We are so hassled about others, I have never been able to, or now I have been able to understand, why do people buy Mercedes car? Or a BMW. In Delhi, I have yet to come across anybody driving his own Mercedes car. The pleasure of driving a good car goes to the driver. And the back seat of Mercedes is pretty bad. I have sat on a number of them. Yet he buys Mercedes car. Why? For the neighbor. For everyone to see that I have a Mercedes car. That's the problem. The problem is with me, not with the car. So I want to acquire things which are not needed for me, but I want to show it off to others. So once you have sorted yourself out, once you are clear-headed what you got to do, life becomes very easy. It's very simple. Life is not so complex. Life becomes complex when you are trying to impress others. Because you don't know how he's feeling, how she's feeling. I mean, I did all that. For my career, I thought I looked like Amitabh Bachchan, no? So I used to have this long hair, look like a crook. No one told me that I looked like a crook. Now when I look at those photographs, I look like a monkey then. But I wanted to look like Amitabh Bachchan. I should have aimed to look at Anil Swarup. So be yourself. That's the biggest problem. With most of us, we don't recognize it. The problem is with us, not with others. So if I can evolve as an individual to be reckoned with, life is sorted.
Thanks, sir.
Sir, many changes have come in the work field and also work culture, education field due to COVID. In your opinion, what are the positives that should be continued?
One positive is the power of IT, technology. Because earlier people didn't realize how technology can be useful in education, to the extent it is. I am a great believer that technology will and should not replace teachers or other ways of educating. But technology can be a great assistance, great tool for value adding to what you're learning. I'll give you an example. As a student at your age, I was struggling to understand the Archimedes principle. It took me a lot of time to understand. When I was Secretary Government of India, someone showed me a video of 1 minute. 1 minute. And I understood Archimedes principle. 1 minute video enabled me. So technology has phenomenal power, but I hope it doesn't replace the teacher because the human touch will be lost. So the technology will not replace regular education, but technology will supplement and enabler. And COVID helped us do that, realize the power of technology in education.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, thank you. If there's no question, then we can. Right, thank you.
As a token of love and appreciation, we would like to present a memento to our guest of honor, Anil Ji. May I invite our patron CT sir to present and Anil sir to receive it.